That fictional book boyfriend that you are harboring a massive crush on, that really, really tall, blue-eyed or sometimes green-eyed, really wealthy man who happens to say the exact right thing at the exact right time. Yep, that man. That man is not a fictional character. I hate to break it to you, but he's a finely calibrated product engineered specifically for your demographic. And you, my friend, are buying it. So, when we think about reading, we usually picture this really cozy atmosphere. We picture a steaming cup of tea in our hand, a book in our hand, a relaxing vibe, this wholesome hobby that helps us unwind from the chaos of reality, helps us, escape reality. We rarely think about cold logistics. Like, we rarely think about really heavy terms like supply and demand or target demographics or market economics. Like, rarely does our mind go to things like these. But the truth is, economics is at the heart of our world right now. Like, it drives everything, every single thing. And that includes your deepest emotional investment. Like that fictional book boyfriend, that fictional MMC that you think you're having a crush on just for fun, just for like your own sake. It's being actually shaped by a market code. Like it's a different currency, sure, but it's a economic transaction nevertheless. Like publishing houses and algorithms have figured out the problems, the emotional gaps in your exhausting modern lives, and then, according to it, in relation to it, they have built the perfect boyfriends, like the perfect boyfriend archetype to fill those very gaps, and they are optimized risk-free assets. Today, we are pulling the curtain on this narrative architecture that is selling you this hyper-idolized, unrealistic version of a man. We're going to break down the economics of the perfect book boyfriend and how you can become hyper-aware of when a fantasy is being sold to you. Products are at the absolute heart of economics. Like when you think of economics, when you think of market, like the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, product. But products don't necessarily have to be something tangible, like something that you can hold in your hand, like this scale, for example. No, it can actually be an abstract idea, a digital sort of service, a digital experience, or just like a service that you provide to people. All of these are products. So in general, products are anything that are going to fulfill the needs or wants of a consumer. Anything you want, anything you need, a product is supposed to fulfill that. So to understand why a main male character is actually a commercial product, you have to look at the structural core of product design. For any product to succeed in a competitive market, it has to rely on 7 key pillars. It has to have a defined consumer base. Like it has to have a target consumer base, the one it's going to sell itself to. It's going to have an unmet need that it's going to fulfill, a unique selling point that's going to differentiate it from like other things, other products in the same market, a quality standard, a cost to benefit ratio, an accessible distribution form, and lastly, consumer feedback. If you take these exact business pillars and overlay them onto the romance publishing industry, the machinery behind your favorite fictional crushes becomes crystal clear. The consumer base and the unmet demand. Like the market consists of a massive, highly active, and primarily female consumer base. And their specific unmet demand is this representation of a perfect partner, a perfect male partner to be specific, one that many women feel is either deeply lacking or entirely absent in the real world. The unique selling point is this character's competitive edge, like what makes a MMC different from MMC from like say other genres. The USP of the ultimate book boyfriend in this case is that he's like structurally engineered to treat the heroine like a queen. Like, unlike the messy reality of real life dating, this man will never ever make the woman feel belittled, ignored, or emotionally unsafe. Literally every green flag of an book, romance book MMC that you can think of that you fall for, it's not a personality quirk. It is a calibrated USP, a unique selling point. It is exactly what differentiates these MMCs from male characters, say, written for the male coded media or male character written in a different genre. The distribution and, of course, the feedback loops. I mean, this product reaches the consumers through a very accessible form, a book, maybe even a digital e-reader, or even in certain cases, apps that provide you online novels like Wattpad, apps that people can download in seconds. Like, there is little effort into, accessing this product. And on the other hand, when the product actually comes out in the market, it relies on consumer feedback. The second the consumer, thinks that they want less of a brooding billionaire and more of like a golden retriever boyfriend, the corporate publishing houses will immediately alter the character's design for the next batches of release. That's how archetypes, change over time. They change in relation to the market. Like the market demands it, and the archetype changes. But there is one final sort of devastating rule of marketing that creates a massive crisis for the publishing industry and the art of writing as whole. Products do not exist in singularity. Like, there is no company out there who's going to create a phone with cutting edge technology, with effort put behind it and turning it into one of the best products out there and then just selling one of it. Like, no, they're gonna take a successful prototype and multiply it over and over again to sell it to a lot of people so they can maximize profit off of it. Our commodified book boyfriends are treated no differently. This exact economic blueprint of creating products, more and more products based off of one sort of singular type, it's the hidden reason why a lot of these MMCs feel the same. Across the romance genre, they have started to blend together into this homogeneous blur. Like, you cannot differentiate between the MMCs from book to book. They share the same exact standardized specifications, like the really tall height, like 6 feet, almost always above 6 feet, or the inherited generational wealth. Like, all of them are almost always really, really rich. And the carbon copied facial features or just bodily features like, muscles or those sharp jaw lines and all of that. And lastly, of course, the highly predictable algorithmic actions that they are most known for. All of these, they are same across most MMCs across the romance genre. This relentless sort of repetition of corporate formula is quietly killing the art of writing. Because true storytelling at its core, it's an exploration of the human truth. Like, as writers, it's our responsibility to create unique, deeply specific characters from story to story. Like, that is how you reflect the messy reality of human beings, the messy uniqueness of human beings. All human beings are not same, and that's why characters from story to story and within the story are supposed to be different. But when this market logic takes over, the characters are no longer written to reflect humanity. They are, written, engineered actually to perform a market function. The ultimate book boyfriend then becomes an assembly line product. And it's not just selling itself. Its entire existence is used as a marketing tool to sell the book as a commodity. But I can hear you say, well, I mean, so what, even if our book boyfriend is like a product and not really a character? like, what's the actual harm? Like, sure, it leads to repetitive writing and we can make a case for that. Perhaps we can do something about that. But as long as it sort of satisfies me or brings, satisfies my emotional needs, brings me joy, like, who cares? Like, it's not harming me. Well, it's not quite that simple, actually, because it's entirely true on one hand that not all products that are being consumed, that are bought by us, are toxic or harmful. Like some of the products that we have in today's world are genuinely helpful, sometimes genuinely fun to have or comforting, like, of course, the scale I just showed. But while consuming these sort of manufactured archetypes of MMCs feels harmless on the surface, but we have to dig deeper and we can see beneath the surface at the psychological disguise this specific product uses to bypass our mental defenses. Now, these characters are exclusively packaged and sold to us under the label of fiction, fantasy, imagination. Like, this is a fictional MMC. It's an imagined MMC. It's like a fantasy, just a fantasy a person has. Yet, within the text itself, within the story, within the novel, they are constructed out of the flesh and blood traits of real people. They act like human beings. They pretend to be like human beings. They look like human beings. They mimic human relationships. Like, at its core, when you look at them, the first thing you think of is that they represent human beings in some shape or form. Now, if you study, corporate market strategy, or you know anything about advertising in general, or you're just aware of the advertising industry, then you might have heard of the term surrogate advertising. Now, it's a tactical loophole that these companies have found out where they indirectly promote really illegal or, restricted or banned goods like alcohol or tobacco by heavily advertising a completely legal and harmless product under the same exact brand name. Let's say there is a brand called A, and A is selling you drinking water bottles, the drinking bottles like the ones you find in the market. And, you see the advertisement, you think they're selling you a drinking water bottle, but then you proceed to search online and realize A is actually a beer brand. Like, that's how surrogate advertising works. Like, it's selling you A as a water brand, but what's actually selling you is a beer brand. Now, while this legal definition in and of itself doesn't really directly apply to publishing, the core structural idea, the core structural mechanism of it, the idea of selling something under the disguise of something else entirely, that we can, apply on this entire thing. The industry, the publishing industry is selling you a commodity under a completely different disguise. Like, they claim that they are selling you fiction, fantasy, a harmless fantasy novel, a harmless fiction story. But what they're actually slipping into your, subconscious is this highly rigid blueprint of how a human male, real human being male is like supposed to function. And that is where the psychological fallout actually begins. Because when you step out of the pages of your book onto real life, you start viewing humans as, and in the same manner as a consumer will start looking at a product. We don't ask questions like, what can we learn? What can I learn from this human being? What can we share with each other? What can we learn from each other? Or what complex emotions can we explore together? No, the first thing that immediately comes to our mind, or I'd say an algorithmic reaction that happens to seeing any human being is like, what can this person provide for me? Or here is my explicit list of consumer demands. Does this person, fulfill them? If not, I'm going to return them to the shelf. Like, I'm not going to interact with them. Okay. Now, let me be absolutely clear. Like, I'm not talking about having or not having healthy expectations, because I think it's a very natural, necessary foundation of human dignity. You have every right to a sort of expect a partner will treat you with respect, and you will treat them the same in return. They will communicate honestly. and of course, return your love. What I am actually talking about is a standard. Standard is a very cold term. Like, it's explicitly reserved for manufacturing and industrial products. You must have heard the lines like, this item doesn't meet the quality standards, or this product lacks standardization, or this a product is substandard, like it's not fitting standards at all. Now, that is the core deception of a commodified main character. They are sold as personal fantasies, they're sold as fictional sort of imaginations, ideas that perfectly fit an untouchable factory calibrated standard, but they're wrapped in a human skin. They're wearing a human skin. Your brain thinks they represent human beings. They are inherently training your brain to believe that flesh and blood human beings are supposed to fit some sort of flawless production standard. But human beings are not products. We are not designed to optimize a consumer's lifestyle without causing friction. Like, you cannot expect a human being to sort of treat you as if a product would treat you. You cannot, hope to get something out of a human being the very same way that you would expect a product to give you something out of it. And when we demand real people meet the standardized specifications of a corporate asset, we don't just destroy our chance at real connection, we just strip away their chance at being a human being, at being treated like a human being, their right to be a human. This dynamic that I'm talking about is not an uncharted territory. And it is certainly not something that just the male population is suddenly suffering from for some reason. No. What makes this entire phenomena even more heartbreaking, I would say, even more unfortunate, is that we women have suffered from something similar for ages, and to sometimes even to this day in certain cases. But today, this exact sort of exact system of erasure that we suffer from is now being sort of laid onto our male counterparts. For generations, female characters were in mainstream entertainment. They were treated as the sort of product. Like, they were rarely written like a real women with, messy, flawed traits. They were passive fantasies that were manufactured entirely for the male population of that era and to meet the demands of the consumer of that era. They were forced to fit industrial standards like extreme visual beauty, total submissiveness, or an inability to save themselves, like the damsel in distress trope, or a really heavy reliance on their male partner, or this complete, perfect containment within domestic sort of roles. All of these were standards that were supposed to fit. They were not human traits. They were production standards. And because the entertainment sold them like that, they made it look like that this is what real human women should be like. Real human women started to sort of warp themselves to fit that sort of mold, to fit that idea. We fought a cultural revolution to change that. Like, we went through years and years of struggle just to ensure, to stand up and to demand that this objectification of women stop. We demanded that women in media be allowed to exist as full human beings, flawed, imperfect, real, chaotic, and beautifully complex as they are. Yet today, the script seems to have reversed, and the result is, of course, not a victory. This is some righteous form of narrative revenge that we are taking. Objectification was toxic when it was done, if when it was aimed at women. It's the same thing when it is aimed at our male counterparts, when the gender is flipped. Because if you look closely at the architecture of media, the moment you begin looking at a human being as if they are some sort of, product through the lens of factory standards, you completely blind yourself to their humanity. Like, their humanity, their traits as a human do not matter. What matters are the factory standards laid out from them through entertainment. There is a fundamental biological reason why production standards cannot exist for human beings. Products are designed to achieve complete uniformity. Like, products are supposed to be uniform. Like, all products are supposed to be same. Human beings are hardwired for individual uniqueness. Human beings are supposed to be different, not the same. No two people are identical, but products, every single product in the same category, rolling off an assembly line is like they are same. Yes, we have basic human expectations, like that a partner should, have moral values. They should be kind, empathetic, respectful. But those are moral values that we collectively, as human beings, irrespective of gender, should thrive for and know that we might stumble because we are humans. A product, on the other hand, is literally built to achieve 100% of its quality standards because it has no other choice. It is supposed to sell by fulfilling those standards. We need to become ruthlessly clear about this difference because when we expect real flesh and blood uh, partners to hit every single green flag sort of specification of fictional archetypes, we're not looking for a relationship. We're just looking for an appliance. Like, we're going out in the market and you're like, oh, these are the categories that I have that I want to be fulfilled. So I'm looking for this product that might fulfill this. Like, that is not how we are supposed to be treating humans and human relationships. You would have undoubtedly seen those videos online, where the readers sigh and say, like, fictional men are so better than real men. Like, real men could never compete with fictional men. Like, I get it. There are a lot of men out there that really do not do even the bare minimum, even in terms of human moral values. And that anger is justified in, then thinking that certain fictional men are actually better than real men. But overall, in general, a real breathing human male should not be, forced to compete with a manufacturing matrix. Like, they are not a commodity, just like how a real breathing human female should not be forced to, fit herself into the industrial standards that have been laid out for her through entertainment for long, even to this day. We desperately need to inject the principle of consumer awareness into our reading and book culture. In the business world, in the marketing, like this entire thing of, buying and purchasing, consumer awareness is this shield that sort of defends people, protects buyers from deceptive marketing. This is what ensures consumer awareness ensures that you know what is being sold to you, why it is being sold to you, how it is being sold to you, what will happen if you will buy it or not buy it, should you buy it or should you not buy it. All of this is really important when it comes to purchasing. And as consumers of stories, purchasers of books, buyers of books, we must achieve the exact same shield in our reading culture. We need to be ruthlessly aware of when our minds are being sort of rewired, quietly rewired by a commercial asset. So the moment you recognize that the perfect book boyfriends that you have a fictional crush on are actually products designed for exactly that, for maximizing publishing profits, from ensuring that people fall for them, you break the spell. You stop comparing flawed real human beings to flawless corporate illusions. Human beings are not products, I'll repeat it again and again, and it's time we stop evaluating them like an inventory. Okay, before I close the doors for the courtyard today and, wrap this video up, I actually want to share this small anecdote of mine. Last month or so, I actually was tagged by a fellow substacker on a post asking for the, it was a prompt asking to list your fictional crushes, like your favorite fictional crushes, characters that you have a fictional crush on. And I was really excited when I saw the prompt because for a long time I actually believed I had a fictional crush. And so I was ready to get down and, start typing. And I was like, I want to tell them what character I have a fictional crush on. But when I actually sat down to write, I hit a complete wall. Like, it was a very bizarre moment of self-realization. I discovered that I actually do not have a fictional crush. Now, do not get me wrong. I like characters. Like, having a fictional crush on a character and liking a character are two different things. Like, I will say that I liked a character in a certain C-drama or in an anime because they were intelligent, or they had really good traits, or, all of that. But the idea of, giving this sort of romantic love or harboring a romantic crush for a fictional entity, because the more I sat with this thought of having something like that, the more this entire concept sort of started to terrify me. Like, it started feeling terrifying to me. Now, please, I'm not saying that if you have a fictional crush that I'm looking down upon you or anything. It's just a, very casual, fun, harmless way of escapism. Like, if you do it, you do you. I'm not judging you. That's not what I'm doing. I'm talking about my personal sort of experience with it, because personally, the idea of directing genuine romantic longing towards an entity that possesses no real world consciousness, it feels really unsettling, like really unsettling, almost dystopian to an extent. Because when you put this entire idea of having a fictional crush with the entire idea of MMCs being products, it suddenly starts feeling like you're saying you have a fictional crush on your phone or another product that you have. Like, that's completely weird. Now, we have to remember where fantasy ends and where reality begins. We need to differentiate between the two, because there are some things that can happen in fiction and fantasy and imagination that don't necessarily have to or can happen in real life, and we need to be aware of that. And that wraps up today's video. I hope you liked being in the Courtyard with me today. Please do explore the rest of the Courtyard, aka my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep theorizing.